Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Okay, that was beautiful. It is wonderful to be joined together on this cold and dank day. Yesterday was even colder. To be joined together in the warmth of each other, the warmth of Shabbat, as we really have an opportunity not only to pray together, but also to spend really important time in learning from each other and with our speaker this evening. As we move into the spirit of Shabbat, we need to make a little separation from what this week has brought us. So let's take a deep breath in. Hold it for a moment. And release. Take another breath in. Think about that which stressed you out or was challenging or difficult, where you hold your stress, whether it be your neck or your shoulders or your lower back. Stretch it out a little bit. Try to release a little of the stress. Maybe not have your shoulders around your ears, which is what my yoga teacher tells me. Release it a little. Release the breath. We can already feel the energy shifting, so we take one more breath in. And release. And we continue welcoming Shabbat with song on page 10. Ma yafeh hayom. How beautiful is this day? How beautiful is Shabbat? Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat Shalom, Ma yafeh hayom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom, Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat Shalom. So we're happy to have our accompanist with us this evening, Jack, who I think this is your second time with us. He's going to be with us a lot more often, so welcome. We now turn to lighting our Shabbat candles. It's my pleasure to ask Jane Glaubinger and Eric Baer to come forward. And if you would like to light your own Shabbat candles, please come to the side of the congregation. We are on page 3.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing, and God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lamikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen.
On page 9. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. We continue on page 28 with the Baruch Hu, which is our call to worship. Please rise as able.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed.
Page 33. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We turn the page for the Shema, the watchword of our faith. We sing together.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvelechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lehiot lachem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
As we prepare to sing Micha Mocha on page 40, we actually have two introductions. One, a reading about the content and the meaning for Micha Mocha, and one about the melody. So first, I want to share with you a reading by Rabbi Lior Bat Ami, written just this past week. Ancient source of justice and compassion, grant us strength to rise against all that threatens the vulnerable, to lift our voices and our hearts against cruelty, and to stand unwavering in the light of truth. May we be bearers of love, even in the shadow of hate, and work toward a world where all are cherished, all are free. For those whose voices were silenced, we speak. For those whose lives were torn apart, we remember. In a world where anti-Semitism tries to take root once more, may our resilience be their legacy, and may our commitment to justice be unbreakable.
The Micha Mocha melody that we're singing tonight was written by my childhood rabbis. I have been looking forward to sharing this melody with all of you for some time now. I hope that you will find this beautiful melody meaningful and that it can eventually become part of our repertoire here at Suburban Temple-Kol.
Page 40.
Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osef eleh, Nora tehilot osef eleh, Adonai imloch leolam, Adonai imloch leolam va'ed, Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedar b'kodesh.
Thank you for bringing that to us. Page 43. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom aleinu, va'al kol amo Yisrael, va'al Yerushalayim. We continue now with Hashkivenu, our evening lullaby, which provides a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace for all of us.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu LaShalom, LaShalom. V'hamidenu, Shomreinu L'chaim, L'chaim. Ufros aleinu, Sukkot shlomecha, ufros aleinu, Sukkot shlomecha. Sukkot shalom, Sukkot shalom, Sukkot shalom aleinu, aleinu. As I lay me down, may I feel peace all around, sheltered beneath your wings. May I feel safe and protected until a new day begins. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu LaShalom, LaShalom. V'hamidenu, Shomreinu L'chaim, L'chaim. Sukkot shalom, Sukkot shalom, Sukkot shalom aleinu, aleinu, aleinu.
We continue on page 46 with the beginning of the tefillah. These words are a recentering of our prayer where we refocus ourselves, recognizing the importance of our words, our prayer, our song, and then we continue with the tefillah, chanting pages 48, 50, and 52. Please rise as able.
Adonai, sefaitai tiftach, ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. We continue on page 57. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. We continue now with Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav can be found on page 60. It is a prayer for peace. It is a prayer really not just for peace, but a great peace. Rav means abundant or great. And if you look on page 61, unfortunately at home you cannot see this. The bottom of page 61, it says, "Great is peace, for peace is to the world as leaven is to dough." So as long as it's not Passover. So we can't exist without peace. But peace doesn't just happen. We need to add leavening to the dough for that to come about. And how does that happen? With our work. We do that. It doesn't just happen miraculously. So we have a lot of work to do. We sing together.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam, leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam, leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. V'tov be'einei Israel bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך בשלומך שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם לעולם שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם תשים לעולם.
Shalom means peace. It also comes from the word to mean whole. We turn to our prayer for healing because there are so many of us who are not whole. We haven't found wholeness, or we are not whole because of illness, or because so many whom we love are not whole because they are ill. And so as my hand passes over the congregation, I invite you to share names of loved ones because they are struggling on this Shabbat, whether it be because they are physically ill, because they're struggling with mental health issues, because they are just struggling, or because you are struggling. Please share the names of loved ones aloud. We join all of the names that have been shared aloud, shared in the chat at home, and still remain in our heart. And we lift up in shared song our healing prayer. If you need the words, page 253. We sing together.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We take a few moments now for silent prayer and reflection.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. Go inside your heart, just be. Go inside your heart and see what it wants, what it needs, what it yearns when you breathe. Go inside your heart and see. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be kind, be true. May they be acceptable to you, oh my rock and my Redeemer.
It's an honor for me to introduce our speaker tonight, Eric Bear. I should say Dr. Eric Bear. I'm not going to give too much of the story because that's his job tonight. Was not born here in the United States. Was born in Germany and had, I'm not going to even talk about this part, had quite the journey getting to the United States. And he is going to share with us his journey coming to the United States. I'm going to talk a little bit more. Just give me like 30 more seconds before you come up. And quite the journey coming here to the United States. He arrived in the United States in December 1947, and as someone who loved education, pursued an education at Johns Hopkins University, and then continuing on, arriving at Case Western, then Case Institute of Technology in 1962, and has been here in Cleveland ever since, and had the wonderful honor of marrying Jane Glaubinger, I believe in 2016. Is that correct? 2016, and has come tonight at our invitation to share with us his story on what it meant to live through a very dark time in the world, living through World War II, and share that with us. And so, without further ado, the incredible Dr. Eric Bear. You're welcome. Let me get you set up, okay? I'm going to get you all set up. Well, we need the mic because there's some people on Zoom. And they're on Zoom. Yes, you're all over the place here. You're all over. Let's make sure that's correct. Is that a good location? You good?
Perfect.
You're perfect. Amazing.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank Rabbi Van for inviting me tonight. This is the first time ever that I've talked about my background as a child to a group of this size. I have in part talked over dinner to friends and sometimes to a couple of students here and there, but never before have I reflected on this background the way I'm going to do in the next 20 minutes. I also would like to thank my dear wife, Jane Klaubinger, who not only gives me advice on what to say tonight, but she takes care of me lovingly every day. We have so much in common, such a wonderful life, and I am enjoying it immensely with her. And thank you, Jane. And also a good cook, by the way. Well, now comes the harder stuff. I would like to talk first about Kristallnacht. That was November 9th to November the 10th, that evening, 1938. And I was 6 years old and nearly 4 months. And I have some memories of that night. I'll tell you what my memories were. I call this the program period of my life. We were living in Bad Nauheim. My father had closed his store, or was forced to close his store close to Bad Nauheim, which is about 40 miles east of Frankfurt. And we were living in an apartment near our synagogue. My parents were Orthodox. And that night, our synagogue was burnt, with all of its total content burnt, some of it on the street. And I remember that fire. Also that night, my father and grandfather were taken to Buchenwald, which at that time was, of course, already one of the concentration camps that Hitler and his gang had created. My father wanted to get out of Germany, and we had 3 options. The US, where he had 6 brothers and sisters, Cuba, and the UK, England at the time. In England and Cuba, you could get a visa, a legitimate visa, if you had money there. And in the US, that didn't work, and we were, unfortunately, down on the list of immigration numbers, which was a lottery. And that lottery came due when I came to the States, which was just mentioned, in the end of 1947. So we had a quota system of allowing our people to the US, irrespective of the fact that we had huge amount of relatives here already. So don't always think of it as positive, the Roosevelt administration. I nearly lost my life because of that quota system. Now, the spring of that year, my father and grandfather were released from Buchenwald. And all our property, the reason he was released was we had permission to leave Germany rapidly. I think we were given 3 months or so. And he signed all of our property open to the Germans. We left with 2 suitcases. However, my grandfather decided not to leave Germany and stayed in Frankfurt and was subsequently murdered in Treblinka. We believe around the end of 1942, and the Israelis have records of this, of my grandfather's passing in Treblinka. That was a vicious concentration camp, as of course was Buchenwald. My father recalled for me that he collected rainwater to drink. He came back out of Buchenwald jaundiced, his head shorn, no hair, yellow looking. And it was quite a difference in 6 months when he was released. But in the meantime, the Gestapo came and visited my mother and I in our apartment in Bad Nauheim to look for jewelry and anything of value. And I remember a Gestapo individual in the Gestapo a tall man with a gun on his side. And you will see if you come outside that I have some, I'll answer questions and show you some, how I looked then, and other major documents of that time. I have them with me tonight, and I'm delighted if you'll ask me more questions. And he came, and I had curls, and he said in German, "Was hast du schöne Locken?" You have, and he put his hands with a gun next to me. You have such beautiful curls. He could have, a minute later, shot me. And I will never, ever, ever forget, or haven't forgotten, this particular incident. My father was still in Buchenwald. At any rate, they were all released. My father and my grandfather stayed behind, and we left because we had permission to go both to Cuba and to England, not to the US, not until the end of '47. And the question was, how do we get out? Well, we had a ticket to go to England on the 22nd of August, 1939. 22nd of August. And we had tickets on a German flagship, Hansa. We still have the Hansa linie today. That was the merchant ship. It was a luxury liner, and we were supposed to get off in Southampton. Well, what happened the night on the 22nd of August, 1939, was rather dramatic. We were on the boat, and the boat turned around and went back to Hamburg. This was devastating, because how do we get out of Germany? Because Hitler had planned to invade Poland, which was September 1st. At any rate, my father went to what I believe was a Jewish agency, and they swapped the Hansa ticket for a merchant ship out of The Hague in Holland. And the question was, we didn't have any permission through Holland. We didn't have any exit visa to Holland. And so my father went with my mother and two suitcases and I, went to the Hamburg train station on the 27th of August, 1939, and the train was absolutely packed, and he threw me through the window of that train. I've relived that, by the way. I went back to Hamburg train station. And threw me through the window, put my mother through the window, and then he climbed through the window as the trains were starting to move. So the three of us were jammed in this train with Gestapo on it, and nobody could move. It was absolutely like sardines on that train, and I'll never forget that. We go, and we hit Arnhem, which is the border between Holland and Germany. The Gestapo got off, and on came the Dutch police. But the train was so crowded that we were halfway to The Hague, where our boat was, before they caught up with the three of us. And my father showed them that we were just catching the boat that night in The Hague to England, and they left us through. So I owe my life in part, not only that I had great parents, but I owe my life in part that the Dutch let us in and catch that boat. Well, we arrived in London in the morning of August, 28th of August, 1939, and the war started 3 days later. So that was very briefly the nightmare that I experienced as a child from 6 years and 4 months old. Obviously, I was too young to feel what my parents were going through while I was growing up to be 6 years old. But I feel that the children who were exposed to that have never forgotten that sort of terrorism, if you wish. It was a terrible experience. The nightmare, however, didn't end there. The war started in London. I was in London. We were not well off, and we got lodgings behind Victoria Station with Mr. and Mrs. Murray, who took me in. They had no children, and I thought they loved me. And I was very lucky because the first words of English that I learned were from Irish boys, very poor, behind Victoria Station, and etc., and the Murrays, who taught me to eat kippers for breakfast. However, the war started, and the Blitz that you've all heard of started. And I remember Dunkirk clearly, because the troops who was withdrawing out of Dunkirk came through Victoria Station. And I was there. I was now 8 years old, or close to 8 years old, nearly 8. And the troops came back from Dunkirk, and I was picking up the cigarette cards which were in the cigarette packages of all the soccer players and cricket players. And that's where I became addicted to collecting. I collected those cards and unfortunately left them in England when I got to the US. My father, of course, was interned. He never experienced the Blitz. The English took the Germans and put them on the Isle of Man. And so my mother and I were there in London in vicious bombing. The docks of London were burning. And most of the renditions we see of that, other than the actual photographs, are not honest, are no good. The Blitz, for example, there's a movie here out, and critics say that it has nice pictures of London recreated. Nothing like it. Nothing like it to those that remain and saw it. It was a vicious, vicious attack in London. And it was, of course, what's called the Battle of Britain. We lived in 3 locations, and were lucky to be alive. Very, very lucky to be alive. I was learning English in Germany. I was not allowed to go to school, and so I could not, I knew some math, but I could not read or write. And so I started to learn to read and write when we were evacuated north of London at the end of 1940, 40 miles north of London, and peace settled upon me, 40 miles north of London. There, I jumped grades, and my father was released from the Isle of Man. The family got back together, but we were dirt poor. I remember living at the Luton, in a tiny house on the Luton, which is close to Dunstable, where I went to school, trains, right near the train tracks. And I was studying by gaslight, and we had just outhouses to go to. That's how poor we were. And the food was incredibly bad. You could hardly exist from it. Hardly exist from it. At any rate, in 1943, I had the good fortune of being allowed into a very sophisticated boys' boarding school, which was affiliated with Oxford University and also with the Church of England that paid a lot of its bills. So my education in England was not through Jewish donations, but were for Christian donations. My divinity teacher taught both the Old Testament and the New Testament in the grammar school, and of course, we never said the Lord's Prayer. Maybe 2 or 3 other Jewish boys that were in my class in the Dunstable Grammar School. And in 1947, December the 24th, we arrived on the Queen Mary in this great country. And that's when we got the visa, not in 39 or 38 when we desperately needed it, but in December 24th, 1947. We arrived in New York, and you just pointed out that in 1949 I entered Johns Hopkins University. Now, 1949, 1938, 11 years only. Can you imagine what I experienced with my loving parents in 11 years? And obviously, the effects of it have never really left me. I've worked my way out of it and worked hard at it. So, I'm certainly blessed. I'm lucky here to be with you alive because I'm living my 93rd year. And all my friends here in Kolemi and acquaintances and so on, I love you all. Perhaps we should tonight, when we say the Yiskadal, think of those that perished in the pogroms and are still perishing. I experienced one of the worst one in human history, at least in periphery. And thank you so much for allowing me to talk a little bit about my past. I have brought along some little documents that you might want to see. And afterwards, you can ask me other questions. I'll take the Fifth Amendment, if there are too many. But at any rate, I won't take the Fifth Amendment. I never do. And so ask me any questions, and God bless you all. Thank you so much. That's it?
Did it in less than 20.
What was it?
It was 15.
16 minutes. I had 4 more out there.
Oh, my goodness. Oh. So, Eric, I hardly know what to say. That was unbelievable. I did not know that you have not publicly shared your story before. What a gift. I'm really speechless. Thank you. Unbelievable. As Eric mentioned, he brought some personal documents from his life, and he wants us to take a look at them during when we are together after the service. So, and we'll also take questions, and he is not wrong. He will always answer your questions. It is our tradition to offer a song following the sermon, following our speech. But I do want to share in the what you said so beautifully for us to dedicate our memory and for the prayer for the mourner's cottage. But I also brought a poem in honor of that as well. Eternal Spirit of memory and healing, in this quiet, in the quiet of this night, we remember. Shattered lives, splintered glass, the haunting echoes of suffering that once filled our world. In this silence, we honor those who walked through fire, who carried fear and anguish yet clung to hope. And we hold close the memory of those lost to hatred. Let the flames of remembrance burn within us, kindling courage as we face the darkness of our own time, when anti-Semitism rises again in our cities and in our streets, resurfacing as prejudice and violence, as slurs and attacks, and casting shadows of fear in places that should feel safe. We know this struggle, and we will not turn away. We stand here as a testament, as a people who remember, who rebuild from ruins, who hold fast to dignity, kindness, and strength. Thank you, Eric. And we are going to sing Eli, Eli. I believe you should have song sheets. Eli, Eli was written by Hannah Senesh. Hannah Senesh was a freedom fighter from Hungary who moved to What was then Palestine became Israel and was caught by the Gestapo. And so we sing this beautiful song tonight.
Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, hachol v'hayam, rishrus shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tefilat Adam, hachol v'hayam, rishrush shel hamayim, berak hashamayim, tefilat Adam. O God, my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
We turn now to Aleinu, our prayer in which we recognize that we are partners with God in continuing to make the world a much better place. We turn to page 283. Please rise. Let us adore the ever-living God and render praise unto you, who spreads out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God, there is none else.
V'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lamelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu Yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad.
Please be seated. Our memorial meditation is found on page 288. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. On this Shabbat, we are thinking of Harold Tickton, and we remember in Shloshim, Jane Litt, and we mark the yahrzeits of Irene Cohen Abram, Eva Biskind, Solomon Kavich, Ellen Cole, Norman Cummins, Edith Cummins, Helen Late Duke, Kevin Fader, Edna Gelman, Harold J. Glickman, Joseph Goodman, Louis M. Goodman, Erwin I. Gross, Jean Heflick, Rose Kane, Joseph B. Lieb, Barbara Laurie, Robert Madow, Jesse G. Mahler, Sophia Saxel Mantler, David Margolius, Ralph A. Mayer, Mark Merdler, Helen M. Reich, Leonore Cohen Rosewater, Lillian G. Schaefer, Calvin Siegel, Abraham H. Weinstein, David Wiesenberger, Clara A. Weider. Our griefs and sympathies are mingled as together we turn to page 294 and rise for the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, Bialma divra chirute v'amlich malchute, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye techol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam almei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yit hadar, v'yit haleh, v'yit halal, shemei dekudesha barechu, le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and give comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say together, amen. Please be seated. In a little bit of a slight change of scenery, it is my pleasure to ask our Executive Director, Brett Shankman, to offer words of greeting and announcement.
I made it. I'm so excited. Shabbat Shalom, friends. Thanks, Jack. Thank you, Rabbi Van, Annika, and Jack, for the service and our wonderful accompaniment. Thank you to Jane and Daniel Leibstein, Marcia and Andrew Margolius, Barbara and Richard Margolius for sponsoring tonight's Beam of Flowers in loving memory of David L. Margolius. And Eric, thank you. Thank you for reminding us, sharing your history and reminding us of lessons learned and hopefully not forgotten. So a friend of mine and a wise man told me, you shouldn't be giving announcements. They're invitations. I thought that was brilliant. So here are the invitations for the evening. Please join your fellow congregants in a member-initiated Friendsgiving celebration potluck dinner next Saturday, the 23rd, from 4 to 7 in the Mendel Greed Social Hall. Please RSVP to the office and look to Temple Times for a QR code that will let us know what you want to bring for the event. Please join us here next Wednesday night for the Mandel JCC Book Festival featuring R. Derek Black, author of The Klansman's Son. This is Wednesday, November 20th, 7:30. Registration is recommended through the Mandel JCC website. NCJW sponsors Operation Warm Up every year. There's a box in the lobby where you can place coats, hats, scarves, and gloves, and socks. We appreciate them. And finally, it's going to be sunny on Sunday, and I need a little help. Rabbi had this brilliant idea. Is she doing this? Yeah. Rabbi had this brilliant idea. There's a wonderful organization, it's called the Daffodil Project, They're planting thousands of daffodils in memory of the children who were killed in the Holocaust. Rabbi thought it was a great idea. I agreed with her. It was terrific, and she ordered them for Mitzvah Day, which is in May. Some of you may be aware bulbs don't go in the ground in May. They go in the fall. We have a huge box of bulbs. She's still talking, isn't she? Anyhow, this huge box of bulbs, Sunday from roughly noon till Lord knows when, we're going to be over here on this side of the building trying to plant as many as we can. If you can join me, I'd really appreciate it because my hands are not going to put about 1,000 bulbs in the ground by themselves. So if you want to join me, I look forward to having you with me. There's 1,000. Shabbat Shalom.
There's more details to that story if you want to hear the full funny version. I canceled that project, and then they showed up with no note. 1,000 bulbs in a box with no note. You can imagine what the office was like that day. We are going to sing a closing song. It is Sadiq Tamar. It is a classic Israeli folk song, beautiful song. It is on page 122, actually, I think. Let me check that, because that is very small text in my iPad. And I'm going to check and make sure that is correct. And it is about being upright and just. Nope, I think 22 is incorrect. Let's look on page 140. It is a scavenger hunt through Mishkan Tefillah because that is really small. 140 seems incorrect also. We're going to find it. Give me a minute. Actually, Sadiq, 22 is correct. Okay, if you're on page 22, turn to page 22, and where there's the indent in the paragraph, it's that first line of the indent of the Hebrew. Sadiq katamar yifrach. It's the first two lines. It's the first two lines of the sentence of the indent. You got it? Everybody got it? That's what we're singing. We're ready.
Tzaddik katamar yifrach ke'erez balvanon iskeh shetulim bevet Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun beseva deshenim verananim iyu lehagid ki hashar Adonai Tzuri velo avlatabo.
Let's rise as able for our benediction.
Yevarechecha Adonai vayishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha vechuneka.
May the light of God's presence shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom v'yasem lecha shalom.
May God lift up each one of us, and may God bring us shalom, peace, and wholeness. Amen. Shabbat shalom.